This is Travis Wayne Goodsell. The left-wing media, is all in waiting, and they're speculating on their various shows of Mueller's memos about Manafort and about Cohen that will be coming out tomorrow, the 5th day of Hanukkah, the dark day. And they're all trying to say, oh, what if it's revealed that Trump is corrupt and he was responsible with the interference in the 2016 election, and they're coming out with recognizing that foreign governments have been paying in the Trump Tower, and so Trump has been receiving enumeration. Is that what it is in the emoluments clause? That's what it is. And I just shake my head and go, because I left the right-wing media because they were just absurd. They were not covering the news. They were doing everything but news. And so I go to left-wing media, and all I'm getting is speculation when there's no breaking news. It's just so frustrating. So, guys, everybody, we already know Trump is corrupt. We already know he's making money off the presidency. We already know he's conspired with Russia. We already know he's corrupt and just pure evil. You just have to listen to him, read his tweets, listen to him as his rallies and his speeches, read his books. We already know him. But nobody does their research, I guess. So everybody just takes it one thing at a time. Oh, Trump just tweeted this. Does this mean that such and such? No. Go back. Put it in context. We already know. You put a crime. Well, Russia, because nobody did. Nobody voted for him. Trump should have lost. He's an illegitimate president. He needs to have his presidency revoked. You don't need Congress for that. That's a simple matter of Mueller going to the justice system and saying, hey, we found evidence of a fraudulent election. We have to revoke the presidency and have a new election. That's what they're doing in North Carolina. It's that simple. That's what that should be done in Georgia. It's that simple. And so it really frustrates me on this. We already know he's corrupt. And so the left wing keeps saying, oh, the House is now full Democratic and are Democrats, and they're gonna do all these investigations and blah 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 blah, and they're gonna investigate Trump. They're gonna get his tax returns, and they're gonna do this. It's gonna do nothing. They cannot do anything in the House. All they can do is impeach. That does not remove Trump from office. The Senate removes Trump from office. And the Republicans held the Senate and added to the Senate. So there's no way that Trump is going to be indicted. Don't get your hopes up. It's just absurd. The left wing hypes everybody up. Yeah, next year, yeah. No, what about now? We cannot allow a corrupt leader who's illegitimate to remain in office. Look at all the damage he's done. It's absurd to go through this. And the left wing says, oh, are we in a constitutional crisis yet? I don't think so. I think if they've crossed this line, then it will be a constitutional crisis. Then he crosses that line, and then the left-wing media says, well, if he crosses this line, then it'll be a constitutional. It's been a constitutional crisis. What is a constitutional crisis? Well, it has to do with the Constitution. What is a part of the Constitution? It is that when one branch of government or an officer in a branch of government is corrupt, they need to be impeached in the House and indicted in the Senate. With a full Republican Party, which we're not supposed to have party government. That's what our founding fathers didn't factor in the Constitution. Because as a result, it's now tribal warfare. So Republicans stick up for Republicans, and Democrats fight against the dominant Republicans and can't do anything, so they just sit back and say, well, we'll get you in the next election. Do you not understand? We've already been in a constitutional crisis as members of branches of government have already been violating the Constitution and have not been held accountable. That is the crisis. The crisis is not something in the future if they cross a certain line. The mere fact that we have not removed Trump immediately after finding out that the election was false, that's the problem. And part of that may be Obama's fault, because Obama should have stepped in and said, hey, wait a minute, I'm getting reports that there's some foul play here in this election. Let's have it investigated, shall we? Let's find out what's really going on, whether Hillary's emails are legit or not, whether Trump is legit or not. It should have been done immediately with him. And we didn't, and thus 2 years have now gone by. You know, and we've had deaths from Trump, poisonings from Trump. You know, this oppressions, suppressions, racism, sexism, bigotry, hatred of all types, poor getting poorer. This should not happen. This is not a situation of, oh, well, he won the election, so we just need to let him do what the people voted him to do as a majority vote. That's not what we are. We are not a democracy. We are a constitutional republic. We're not a socialist republic. We're not a representative republic. A constitutional republic. Every single officer has to follow the Constitution and implement it for all citizens. Not the elite citizens, not for elite big businessmen, all citizens. And it's like for Samantha Bee last night on her TBS show Full Frontal, did a little thing about white-collar crimes. White-collar crimes really don't get prosecuted. They get fined. And she brought up Enron in California, where they were outright criminal, but their defense strategy that worked and fooled the judge was that, hey, if you punish us with prison time, then we lose the business and all of our employees lose their jobs. Enron threatened the court, the judge in the court matter, and they got away with it. First of all, if you are working for a corrupt business, you need to leave. You need to say, screw this, I'm out of here. You need to whistleblow on them. you need to take them to court. We need to be allowed to take them to court. That's the First Amendment right we have. Read it again. Petition to redress grievances. The mere fact that we can't take our boss to court and get him thrown in prison for slave labor, and that's what it is when a business refuses to pay their employees enough so that they can live a comfortable life in society. But businesses want their board members and COs to have the comfortable life and have all their profits reinvested in the stock market. So that's all we're witnessing, is that when Trump gave all the businesses the tax break from the tax bill at the end of last year, the businesses laid off employees and put all that tax return money into the stock market. And so the stock market goes up, 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 up throughout the year. That's what happens with the stock market. It's for the rich men. It's a gambling institution for the rich men. And so what happens is that they put the money in the stock market, and they do that by buying stock in their company. You buy low, sell high. And so what we're now seeing is, hey, they've put all that money in. There's not much more they can do with that. And so now they're selling. They know when to sell because they're in control. So that's how they make more money. And, they will sell off and then they'll put it right back in, raise it up a little more, and they get rich and rich. They don't give to their employees, and thus the poor and the rich are further separated. This is Trump's economic system. This is how he's helping to cause a division in our nation. That's corruption. It needs to stop. It needs to stop immediately. We need to be allowed to go to court to resolve these, and we shouldn't have to go to court. Businesses shouldn't force us to get a lawyer representation, a legal representation, because that's not what we're supposed to do. We're not supposed to be victimized by those who are in control. And that's part of what they do, is they force us to pay for a lawyer. And as poor people, we can't do that, and so we can't afford to take them to court. That's the trap they set for us, so that they can continue to get away with this. It has to stop. So please understand, the left-wing media does not know what they're talking about. They're giving us a false hope in a future speculation. So if Mueller comes out tomorrow and it's revealed that, oh, wow, yeah, we were all right all along, Trump was using Deutsche Bank for laundering money from foreign governments, and he's been collecting money from foreign governments through his own business at Trump Tower, and it won't do anything. Our outrage, what do? Protest? That doesn't do anything. We get thrown in jail if we protest. It's a crime to protest. Violation of our First Amendment rights, again. And so we're helpless. So the left-wing media is giving out false hope. And that's what the midterms were all about. The Democrats threatened us. If you don't vote for Democrats, we cannot get rid of Trump. it is not up to tribal warfare to solve our problems. The Constitution had individual candidates to represent us in the government to follow and implement the Constitution. There's no need for Congress to continually make bill after bill after bill, volume after volume after volume. That's absurd. They're not really needed. The Constitution is already in place. You just need to have it implemented. And so if the courts find out from the ground level of the public that a certain law is not working to guarantee rights, then the judicial system will say, hey, Congress, this bill, this law, is not working to ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty. Preamble, if you're not familiar with those. And then Congress then says, okay, well, we'll figure it out and fix it. And then they establish a law, the president signs it, then it's implemented. If it works, great, we can go on as usual. If it doesn't work, go through the legal system again. Say, no, this still isn't working. Billy from Montana is suffering because of this law, so we need to fix it. It's that simple. There's no need to have Congress stay in position, go, and it's just ridiculous. And then you get porking that's added. All corruption. And so the problem is with businesses. They're the ones who are paying for the lobbyist to petition Congress to establish laws to protect the business over the people. We are already in a constitutional crisis. Don't let the left-wing media fool you. Don't let the right-wing media fool you. We're in it. We've been in it. When there are people suffering, we're in a crisis. And people say, oh, well, there'll always be poor. No, there doesn't have to be. The Constitution guarantees everyone an equal footing to life, liberty, and property. Everyone. It's not a matter of, oh, well, I'm in a more important job than you, so I deserve rights, whereas you don't. That's not how it is. That's not equality. So we've got a lot of changing to do in this nation. Some really hard changing. Life changing. And if nobody is willing to stand up and say, hey, no, we need to stop what's going on and we need to make the changes necessary. You know, if you're going in and you've got a wound that's penetrated your heart, you don't say, well, let's see if we can put a Band-Aid over it and see if that stops the bleeding. Or maybe if we, let's see, we can't really pull out the knife because that will cause severe bleeding. So maybe if we just seal the knife to the heart so that the blood flow that it, you know, it's absurd. You got to put in a whole new heart. And yes, in that example, there may not be a heart available, and thus the person's going to die. But it doesn't have to be that way for our nation. But we do need a heart transplant, both literally and physically. Literally and not physically, literally and metaphorically. So we can't have what's going on right now. It has to stop. And it's not going to stop by our leaders. They won't change anything. January 3rd will come and we'll just have more problems, more delays. And if we don't stand up and do something, we the people, according to the Declaration of Independence, are required to throw off the government and establish new government. Do you understand that? Do you understand the courage that is required for that? And I don't know if you guys do, because we've lived in a life of prosperity for the most part, despite those who are on the streets suffering, or those who are forced to live in communal housing in order to survive. But for the most of you who have your own home or apartment, you haven't seen the struggles that are going on. You don't know the struggles that are going on. You know, if you have to use your credit card, you think, oh no, my financial woes. You don't understand. But it's going to come if you continue to be apathetic and refuse to stand up against the corrupt government that we have. Because Mueller, all he's going to do is give a report. That's it. And it's an ongoing thing because Trump's still in office. That's why it's always ongoing. Mueller doesn't plan to stop. He's got job security. So as long as Trump continues to be president and continues to be corrupt, commit crimes, well, he's got an ongoing investigation. And you know, and he's thinking, well, he's the president, so I can't really indict him anyway. We'll have to wait till a future election and hope that he loses, and that hopefully he won't establish himself as president for life. Because, oh wow, then I'll be shut down. What'll I do then? That's how bad it's going to get. Trump will never leave the presidency if we do not force him out. We have no choice now but to force him out. He will not leave on his own. He knows he's in trouble because he knows he committed crimes. Everybody knows. He's a New Yorker. Everybody knows. So we're in a world of hurt if America just sits back and waits for someone else to do the job that they are required to do. And you may think, well, what can I do? I can't do anything. Yes, we need en masse, all of you together, to rise up and say, stop. We've had enough. We don't want lip service that you're going to change. We want the change. Florida's children already got played as chumps. And they think they've succeeded, but where are they now? You know, the high school shooting. An under 18-year-old kid shoots at the school. So they protest. They have big protests. Lots of people turn out throughout the nation, as well as in Florida. So the Florida government makes it appear as if they're caving to the protesters. And they make a new law in their legislature in Florida. And the law is, okay, well, you can't get a gun until you're 21, when it used to be 18. When do people graduate? When they're 18. The kid already couldn't buy a gun. So the Florida legislature fooled you guys and said, okay, well, we'll just raise it up to 21. You know, they violated the Constitution in doing that. Do you understand that? Because the legal age of an adult, according to the Constitution, is 21 down to from 21 down to 18. Originally it was 21 years old, but an amendment made it 18. I believe it was Nixon, actually, who changed it to 18. He was the one responsible for the bill. And so 18 years old is when a person is legally considered an adult. So Florida screwed over the protesters. They couldn't arrest everybody, so they just screwed them over with their rights. That's how corrupt we are in this nation. In Utah, the voters wanted medical marijuana, and they got it with Proposition 2. Then guess what? The state church, the Mormons, forced the Utah legislature to make a new law to stop Proposition 2, so that people with medical conditions where medical marijuana will help them directly, that's now on hold until lawsuits can be processed through the court system. But in a full dominant Mormon Republican state, that's not likely to succeed. They'll have to appeal it all the way up to the Supreme Court, most likely. That's how corrupt our nation is. State after state after state revealing their corruption, revealing crimes upon crimes. The governor of Missouri gets removed from office, forced to quit, because of him tying up a woman in his basement. Those are the kinds of leaders we have. It has to stop, and it will not stop through the system, because the system was made by those in corruption. You can't fix corruption with corruption. It just doesn't work. It's just gang warfare is all it is. So please, we need to stop this. If you won't rise up, we lose. And our posterity loses, if we get to have a posterity. This is not America.